Easter Thursday, 2015. London's Diamond District is empty, shutters down, streets dark. Danny Jones, 60 years old, squeezes his body into a narrow lift shaft and begins to descend, floor by floor, into the basement of the Hatton Garden Safe Deposit. 3 men follow him down the stairs, dragging a Hilti industrial drill and a pair of wheelie bins. At 12:21 in the morning, the burglar alarm trips. A signal hits the Metropolitan Police Monitoring Centre. A dispatcher logs it. Nobody comes. You're listening to The Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Today, a group of pensioners with a combined age over 400 years pull off the largest burglary in English legal history. And they plan the whole thing at a pub. 88 to 90 Hatton Garden sits in the heart of London's jewellery quarter, a few blocks of narrow streets where dealers have traded gems and gold since the Middle Ages. The Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Company operated out of a nondescript building with a heavy steel vault door, concrete walls half a metre thick, and rows of locked boxes belonging to jewellers, traders and private clients. It was supposed to be one of the most secure vaults in the city. On the evening of April 2nd, 2015, the last staff member at the depository locked the doors at 9:19 p.m. and left for the Easter holiday. 4 minutes later, the first figure appeared on CCTV. The man the police would later call Mr. Ginger, wearing a red wig and high-visibility vest, stepped into the building through a shared entrance on the upper floors. He'd walked in through a communal door that served other businesses in the building. No break-in. No forced entry. He just walked in. Danny Jones went first down the lift shaft. The others hauled equipment down the stairs. The Hilti DD350 drill, heavy enough that it took 2 men to carry it, along with an angle grinder, crowbars, and those wheelie bins they'd used to haul out the loot. They reached the vault corridor. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, bare concrete walls. The vault's main steel door was shut tight. They couldn't open it. So they didn't bother with the door. They set up the drill against the vault wall itself, 50 centimeters of reinforced concrete, and they started boring. Hatton Garden over Easter is a ghost town. The jewelers are gone, the dealers are gone, the security guards are gone. It's one of the few weekends a year when an industrial drill could scream through concrete for hours and nobody would hear it. The gang knew this. They'd picked the date months in advance. Micro Cliffhanger 1. At 12:21 a.m. on April 3rd, the intruder alarm triggered. The signal went straight to the Metropolitan Police Monitoring Centre. A dispatcher logged the alert, and that's where it stopped. No unit was dispatched. It was Easter weekend. The alarm was treated as routine. That single non-response gave the gang an extra 48 hours. They drilled 3 overlapping holes through the vault wall. Each one took hours. Concrete dust filled the corridor, but when they finally broke through, they hit a problem. The drill couldn't reach past the back of the vault's storage cabinets. The metal cabinets were bolted to the far side of the wall, blocking the hole. They couldn't get in. By 8 a.m. on Friday, exhausted and covered in dust, the gang walked out and drove away in a white van. They went to the Castle, a pub on Pentonville Road, and sat down with pints to figure out what to do next. Most burglars would have quit. They'd triggered the alarm. They'd been inside the building for nearly 11 hours. The vault wall had 3 fresh holes in it. Every hour they waited was another chance for someone to walk in and find the damage. Micro Cliffhanger 2. These men came back. Saturday night, April 4th, the gang returned to Hatton Garden at 9:17 p.m. This time, they brought a hydraulic ram, a Clark pump strong enough to force the vault cabinets away from the wall. They fed it through the holes they'd already drilled, braced it against the concrete, and pumped. The cabinets moved. The hole was clear. One by one, they crawled through into the vault. Rows of safe deposit boxes stretched from floor to ceiling. They had crowbars, and they had all night. They pried open box after box, 73 in total, gold bars, loose diamonds, sapphires, bundles of cash, watches. They loaded everything into the wheelie bins, dragged them back through the hole, up the stairs and out to the van. By 6:10 a.m. on Easter Sunday, they drove away. The estimated value of what they took, £14 million, roughly $19 million. It was the largest burglary in English legal history. The break-in wasn't discovered until Tuesday, April 7th, when staff returned from the holiday and found the vault wall breached, the corridor thick with concrete dust, and 73 boxes hanging open and empty. Scotland Yard launched one of its biggest investigations in years. But the public reaction was complicated. These weren't young men in balaclavas. The CCTV footage showed something nobody expected. When police released the surveillance footage, the nation saw something that didn't fit the crime. The men on the screen were old, visibly, unmistakably old. Brian Reeder was 76. Terry Perkins was 67. Kenny Collins was 75. Carl Wood was 58, the youngest of the group. Danny Jones, the man who'd squeezed down the lift shaft, was 60. Their combined age was over 400 years. The tabloids had a field day. They called them the Diamond Wheezers. Dad's army, the public, against all logic, started rooting for them. But Brian Reeder wasn't a lovable retiree pulling one last job for kicks. Reeder had form, serious form. In 1983, 6,800 gold bars were stolen from the Brinksmat warehouse near Heathrow. It was the previous crime of the century. Reeder was convicted of laundering proceeds from that robbery. He'd served time, gotten out, and spent the next 3 decades in the criminal underworld. Hatton Garden wasn't a whim. It was a career capstone, planned by a man who'd been doing this longer than most of the investigating officers had been alive. The Flying Squad, Scotland Yard's armed robbery unit, tracked the gang through CCTV, phone records, and surveillance. By May, they had enough. On May 19, 2015, 9 suspects were arrested across London. Detectives found some of the stolen goods stashed in various locations, a few £1 million worth. But here's what made the case sting for investigators. Of the £14 million stolen, only £4.3 million was ever recovered. Nearly £10 million in gold, gems, and cash simply vanished. The gang had weeks between the burglary and the arrests to move the loot. Some of it may never be found. In March 2016, 6 of the men pleaded guilty at Woolwich Crown Court. Reeder, Perkins, Jones, and Collins received sentences of 6 to 7 years. Terry Perkins died in prison in 2018. The Hatton Garden heist wasn't sophisticated. It was brute force, a big drill, a hydraulic pump, and 3 nights of grinding through concrete. What made it extraordinary wasn't the method, it was the nerve. 5 pensioners who should have been home watching telly instead crawled through a vault wall on their hands and knees and walked out with $19 million in wheelie bins. The public loved the story. The tabloids made them folk heroes. But strip away the charm, and what you've really got is a system so complacent that a 76-year-old career criminal could exploit it. Because an alarm went off and nobody bothered to check. The vault's security failed, the police failed, and 5 old men proved that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room isn't talent or technology. It's patience. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. Follow the Unlit Room wherever you listen. Tell a friend, but maybe don't tell them it's all real until after they've finished. Full story on the main channel. Follow if you're wide awake. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.